The cell was cold and too bright. The floor hummed like it had a heartbeat. The human boy sat cross-legged on the smooth alien metal, staring at the guards outside his cage. He didn't speak. Not once. That's what made him strange. He was taken from Earth months ago. They called him Specimen 31 and showed him off to alien guests like he was some cute, stupid creature. He was fed through a tube, poked with scanners, dressed in shiny cloth like a pet. The aliens thought he didn't understand anything, that he couldn't. They laughed when he fell. They cheered when he copied sounds like a parrot. He was made to bow, made to dance. Even the little alien children threw snacks at him like a zoo animal. But still, he said nothing. Not a single word. That's why the guests today were excited. An auction was being prepared. Rich nobles from many planets had arrived. They wanted to see the mute earthling, the strange mammal with eyes full of secrets and lips that never moved. He was the new prize toy of the Orion trade fleet, high above the planet in a golden station. The humans were nothing but items. Some were used for mining, some for tests. But this one, this boy, they kept him clean, well-fed, dressed in soft robes. Why? Because they didn't know what he was. And fear always hides under curiosity. Today, things would change. The auction hall shimmered with colors. Alien buyers whispered in a dozen languages. The boy was placed on a pedestal in the center, under a clear energy dome. A silver collar hummed around his neck. Behind the glass, nobles leaned forward to get a better look. Some laughed. Some raised their bidding sticks. A tall insectoid noble pointed and clicked his mandibles. "Make him spin." "Let me see his flexibility," the translator droned. One of the handlers tapped the energy dome and gave a signal. The boy slowly stood up. He turned once. He bowed. He sat down again without expression. "Ooh, so dull," sneered a squid-like aristocrat. "He's broken, or too dumb to learn tricks." Another bidder chuckled. "At least he's pretty. I'll keep him in my garden." The boy said nothing. A voice echoed across the chamber. It was the head auctioneer, a female Thalrin, noble in a long blue robe. Her voice was smooth, practiced, superior. "This creature was taken from the primitive planet Earth. It has not spoken since arrival. We have scanned its mind empty. Basic emotions only. But its body adapts fast, and it shows no signs of disease or decay. It is a perfect display piece. Let bidding begin." Before she could finish, the boy stood up. His eyes locked on hers through the dome. His hands moved slightly, and he pressed one finger to the collar. No more. The room fell silent. The translator devices didn't react at first. They blinked, then restarted. Alien nobles froze. The auctioneer's face twitched. The boy stepped forward. He touched the energy barrier. His mouth moved again, calm, clear, direct. This time there was no delay. Every alien in the room heard his voice in their own language. "I am not your toy." Panic rippled across the room. Some nobles dropped their bid sticks. One alien fainted. The translator sphere next to the auctioneer blinked red. Security bots rolled forward. The guards outside his cage hesitated. Even they were unsure now. Was this creature intelligent? The auctioneer's voice cracked. How do you speak?" "The Galactic Tongue?" The boy looked at her. His voice was steady. "You taught me." He pointed to the loudspeakers, the translators, the whispers behind glass. He'd listened. Every day. Every command, every insult. They had spoken freely. In front of him for months, thinking he was dumb. He wasn't. He just waited. One of the insectoid nobles shrieked. "He's dangerous. Kill it now." The boy raised his voice again. "No, I'm not dangerous. You are." Suddenly, the energy dome flickered. The collar on his neck sparked once, then broke into pieces. Everyone backed away. He had hacked the collar from inside. They hadn't even noticed. They thought it was safe. Now it was too late. One by one, the lights in the room dimmed, screens cracked. Translator units shorted. Emergency protocols flashed. But not by accident. The boy was doing it. He didn't just learn their language, he learned their systems, their control panels, their habits, their weaknesses, and he was done playing the dumb pet. Across the galaxy, humans were called animals, slaves, products, but one human had just stood up, looked his masters in the eye, and made them afraid. Not with weapons, not with violence, but with the one thing they never expected, words, and it had only just begun. The control room was in chaos. Sirens howled through the auction station. Red lights spun like angry eyes across the walls. The boy was still standing calmly on the platform, watched them all run. Guards shouted in 3 different languages. Some aimed weapons. Others argued. About orders. No one had planned for this. No one believed a simple human could break the collar. Or speak. Or think. But he had. The dome flickered once more, then vanished. He stepped off the pedestal, barefoot, calm. As he walked forward, the nobles backed away like he was a fire no one could put out. Fear made even the rich tremble. Don't move. One of the armored guards shouted, aiming a plasma stick. The boy didn't stop. He simply tilted his head and replied in perfect military dialect. Your weapon is set to stun. It won't work on me anymore. The guard blinked, confused. Then, he fired. The stun bolt hit the boy's shoulder and fizzled out like static. The device shorted in the guard's hand. He stared at it, then at the boy. How? He muttered. You never changed the frequency, the boy said. I've watched every guard reset it wrong. Before anyone else could react, the boy turned. To the room full of nobles. I know your names, your ships, your homes, every word you've spoken in front of me, I remember. Whispers turned to panic. He's a spy. No, he's an experiment. He's lying. He has to be. But deep down, they all knew the truth. They hadn't caged a mindless creature. They had educated their own undoing. Auctioneer, the female noble in blue, stepped forward again. Her voice was shaky but proud. You are a slave of the Orion. Trade Council, you will be returned to your cell. The boy's reply was quiet but final. No, I'm not a slave. I'm a student. And I've graduated. He raised one hand. On his wrist was a tiny chip, barely visible. Something he had stolen weeks ago from a drunk technician. It looked like nothing. But when he tapped it twice, the floor vibrated. A signal. Suddenly, across the station, lights exploded. Doors jammed. Open. Cages unlocked, and screams filled the air. From the lower levels, other humans ran free. Dozens. Maybe more. Some had collars ripped off, some still wore chains. But all were out, all were angry. And they were following one person. Him. The guards tried to block the stairwells. The nobles tried to call for help, but it was too late. The boy had learned. Not just their words, but their blueprints, their habits, their lazy patterns. He had counted every door, every camera, every guard rotation. And now it all collapsed. The station had never faced a rebellion, and never from someone they thought was a toy dot in the chaos. A small alien child stared at the boy. Her green eyes were wide. Her parents yanked her away, but she whispered, "Are you really human?" He gave her a gentle nod. Then turned away. In the docking bay, explosions shook the floor. Escape pods launched in panic. Ships powered up too fast, smashing into each other. The slaves poured into the hangars like a storm, following their leader without a word. The auctioneer reached for her emergency panel. But before she could activate the override, the boy's voice echoed again, now through the intercoms of the entire station. You fed me lies. You caged my body. But your biggest mistake was talking in front of me. His voice was calm. Precise, cold. I know what you fear. and I'm going to show the galaxy what humans really are. At that moment, the flagship's control system locked out. The ship's navigation changed course. Its next destination? Earth. The station spun slowly in orbit, still burning from the inside. Fires crackled behind sealed doors. Sirens died one by one. What once looked like a floating palace now looked like a broken hive. Inside the stolen command deck, the boy stood at the center. Around him, freed humans sat quietly, tired, bruised, but watching him. None of them spoke. They didn't need to. He was the reason they were breathing fresh air. He didn't shout. He didn't give long speeches. He only pointed to the star map glowing in the air and said one thing: "We go home." But it wouldn't be that easy. Far across the galaxy, the Orion Trade Council received the emergency report. The room filled with ambassadors, generals, and ancient creatures dressed in layers of power. They listened to the message in silence. A human spoke. Those 3 words broke centuries of belief. Humans were labeled as base animals, flesh tools for labor. The idea of one learning the Galactic Tongue without implants, without permission, was a threat more terrifying than warships. Some laughed nervously. Others demanded an immediate strike. But the elder speaker, an ancient being made of shifting crystal, raised one long arm. "This is not an accident. This is exposure." Exposure of what? A council member asked. "Of our weakness," the elder replied. "We talk too much, we assume too much." And now one of them has listened, learned, adapted. Back on the station, the boy sat in the captain's chair. His name was still unknown. Some of the humans whispered theories. Was he a secret spy? A genetically enhanced child? But the truth was simpler and more dangerous. He had just paid attention. He had spent every day watching the guards punch in codes. Every night listening to the nobles boast about their crimes. He learned passwords from reflections, escape routes from overheard whispers, and their language. He had memorized it, one insult at a time. Now he opened the stations. Communication lines. He stared into the lens, and he spoke. "This is not a threat. This is not a war. This is a warning." Across space, thousands of ships picked up the signal. Alien traders froze in their seats. Slave owners dropped their cups. Noble families turned pale as they heard the impossible. A human speaking to the stars. "For too long you called us pets. Toys, things to sell. But we remember every word, every laugh, every scar." He paused. "And we are coming home, not to beg, not to ask, but to rise." The signal ended. In the darkness, silence returned. But fear had already taken root. The Trade Council immediately issued a kill order. Eliminate the speaker. Destroy the station. No survivors. A fleet of warships turned toward the human-occupied vessel. But the boy already expected that. He turned to a girl beside him, tall, thin, with burns on her neck. She had once been made to clean alien cages. Now she was rewiring the station's shield array. "Is it ready?" he asked. She nodded. "Good. When they come, they'll see we're not just tools." He turned to another man, older, one eye missing. "You said you worked in engine bays?" "Yes, before they broke my leg." "You can still fix things?" "Yes." "Then fix this place. Make it fly like it never did before." And they did. The humans, once broken and silent, began to rebuild. They patched engines. They hacked cameras. They painted over slave marks. The station didn't look like a prison anymore. It looked like a fortress. And when the enemy fleet arrived, the boy would be ready. Asterisk. The fleet came in silence. 12 Orion warships dropped out of hyperspace like falling blades. Their black hulls glowed with red warning lights. Each ship carried enough firepower to break a moon. The Trade Council didn't want a fight. They wanted an example. Inside the command ship, Admiral Croth watched the human-occupied station on his screen. His 4 eyes narrowed. His voice was low and cold. Send one warning, then fire. On the station, the boy stood at the window. He saw the ships arrive just as he expected. He didn't flinch. He simply turned to the girl beside him. Let them talk first. A message buzzed across the system. The alien voice was smooth, fake with concern. To the human leading this station, you are holding stolen property. Power down, release the prisoners. No harm will come to you. The boy tapped a button. His reply was short. You stole first. There was no answer after that. Admiral Croth growled. Fire. Outside, the ships lit up. Blasts of blue energy shot forward, but the human station didn't explode. Instead, the shield shimmered gold and absorbed the fire. The aliens blinked. How? Deep inside the station, the burned neck girl grinned. She had rewired the shield. Systems using parts from 20 different sectors. And the boy had rerouted the core power using a trick learned from watching a noble's private engineer. The station held. Then, it fought back. Turrets popped out from hidden panels. Small, fast drones shot into space made from scrap, but guided by humans with steady hands and angry hearts. They weren't strong, but they were clever. The first Orion ship lost its sensor pod. The second had its fuel lines sliced by a tiny drone carrying a magnetized cutter. Inside the command ship, Admiral Croth growled. They're improvising. He didn't understand it. Aliens followed orders. Machines followed codes, but humans, they broke patterns. They built weapons from trash. They learned from every loss, and the boy was already 2 steps ahead. He didn't waste time with big speeches. He gave fast orders. Move here, block that. Cut power, redirect heat. Trap the enemy in their own logic. The humans didn't fight harder. They fought smarter. One of the council ships crashed into another while trying to dodge a drone. Another was hacked from the inside. The boy had slipped a virus into the comms system before the battle started. Now the enemy ships were turning on each other. Croth roared in rage. This is impossible. But in the center of the storm, the boy stood still. I watched you all this time, he whispered. You never saw me. He tapped another button. The biggest drone launched from the lower bay. It wasn't a weapon, it was a transmitter. It sent a signal across thousands of systems. A message in perfect galactic tongue. A message that would reach every slave, every caged creature, every human still lost in the stars. You are not alone. Back on the battlefield, the enemy ship started retreating. The humans on the station didn't cheer. They didn't shout victory. They simply kept working, repairing, recharging, rebuilding. The boy sat down, eyes tired. He knew this wasn't the end. This was only the first wave. But something had changed. They weren't silent anymore. And the galaxy had just heard the first words of a new voice. The battlefield was quiet now. Wreckage floated through space like drifting bones. Half of the Orion fleet had fled. The other half burned, twisted into shapes they no longer recognized. The station was damaged but alive. Humans worked in teams, no orders needed. They had learned to trust each other. And him. The boy sat in the control room, staring at the blinking map. Each dot was a signal. Some were enemy ships, some were other stations, and some were faint signals from other humans still trapped. In alien hands, he tapped the screen. There's more out there. The girl with burn marks stood beside him. How many? Too many. Before she could reply, a sharp beep cut through the air. A new message, unknown sender. It wasn't a trap, no code injection, no tracking virus, just words. Simple, direct. I want to speak. He hesitated, then opened the channel. A voice came through. Deep, calm, and unexpected. Human. I watched your battle. You shouldn't have won. The boy narrowed his eyes. Who are you? Someone who used to believe humans were animals. Now, I'm not so sure. The screen flickered. A tall alien appeared, scaly skin, sharp eyes, dressed in simple armor. His voice belonged to power, but his tone was not proud. It was tired. "I am Commander Vec of the Karudal Front." The boy recognized the name. The Karudal were elite mercenaries. They never took sides. Never helped anyone without a price. The alien continued. "I've fought for the Orion Trade Council. I've guarded their slave ships. I've seen what they do. I never cared before." He looked straight into the boy's eyes. "Then I saw you speak. And I saw them panic." The boy stayed quiet. Vec stepped closer to his screen. "The council has issued a bounty. Not just for you, for any human who speaks. They fear your words more than your weapons." The girl beside the boy whispered, "So why are you telling us this?" Vec answered, "Because I don't want to serve fear anymore." The room was silent. He offered something no one expected. "I have a ship, a fast one. I can help you reach the core planets, where the real human prisoners are kept, where the council hides the worst secrets." The boy stared at the screen. "You're risking your life. I know. You could betray us. I could. So why help?" Vec's eyes narrowed. "Because once, I saw a child ripped from her mother for not bowing fast enough. And I said nothing. That silence haunts me. I see you now, and I see what silence creates." The boy looked at the others in the room. They didn't trust the alien, but they didn't say no. "We don't forgive quickly," the boy said. "I don't ask for it," Vec replied. "Only a chance to fight the monsters I once served." The boy tapped the panel again. A small green light blinked. "You'll send us the coordinates?" "I already have." The signal ended. For a moment, no one moved. Then the girl said, "Are we really going to trust him?" The boy looked out the window at the stars. "We don't trust him. We trust the chance." And for the first time, humans would fly, not as cargo, but as hunters. The stolen ship hummed like a heartbeat as it neared the core. They had followed Vec's path through back doors in the trade, council's maps, silent corridors of space, abandoned war routes, dead stations, all hidden from public star maps. Vec never spoke much during the trip, but his eyes stayed sharp, always watching the scanners. He knew betrayal could come from anywhere, even his own crew back in the mercenary days. The boy stood in the middle of the control deck. Older humans now called him Commander. Younger ones called him Teacher. He accepted neither. He simply gave orders, listened, learned, and worked. They didn't follow him because of rank. They followed him because of belief. In the darkest corner of space, the Trade Council's real prison floated like a shadow, a black cube, half the size of a moon. No name, no beacon, no entry logs. Only rumors. Inside were the humans who didn't break. Scientists, soldiers, rebels, children with too much intelligence, mothers who refused to give up their names, all stored like broken parts. The boy stared at the prison from the screen. "That's where it ends," he said. Vec nodded. "The guards here won't be afraid like the ones before." The boy didn't smile. "Then we won't use fear." The attack began without warning, not with missiles, not with explosions, but with a message, broadcast through every layer of the station, voiced in the Galactic Tongue. "You called us pets. You called us tools. You stripped us of names. But we listened, and now we speak." Inside the prison, guards froze. Some reached for weapons. Others stared at the speakers in shock, because it wasn't just one voice anymore. It was thousands from every level of the cube. Speakers crackled with human voices repeating in every known alien language. "We are not yours. We are not silent. We are here." That was the real battle. Words. And then, the walls cracked open. Small drones poured in. Not to destroy. To deliver codes, hacked from years of watching the Trade Council. Cells opened. Chains melted. Prisoners blinked at the light. A girl with pale skin stepped forward. She hadn't spoken in 10 years. Now she whispered, "Free?" A voice replied in her ear, "Yes, speak." She screamed out not in fear, but in joy, and her voice was heard. From that single spark, chaos bloomed. The guards were outnumbered by the prisoners they once ignored. The humans didn't kill, they disabled, they trapped. They locked doors instead of opening them. By the time the council reinforcements arrived, it was over. The cube didn't explode. It BROADCA. Every screen, every channel, every ship in the galaxy heard the same thing. A boy's face. Calm, young, human. His voice. Slow and clear. "This is the last time you treat us like toys. We are not pets, we are people. We are human." And then the screen faded. That was enough. Across the stars, more prisons cracked, more humans stood. Some aliens stepped back, others stepped forward to help. The Trade Council, once feared, was now divided. Some called for war, some called for peace. All of them now knew the truth. The humans had spoken, and nothing would ever silence them again.